Five Nights at Freddy's, Clawmarks, Chapter 11. Max had the worst dream of his life. At one point, the pain numbed him to sleep. He didn't mean to, it just happened. In the dream, he was in a different restaurant than Freddy's. The animatronics there looked eerily similar to the ones he was used to seeing, only these were white in color. There was a bear of a rabbit hand puppet, a fox, a ballerina, and a little girl. They surrounded Max and started laughing at him, saying, "Don't hold it against us." The animatronics repeated this phrase over and over, dancing around and wildly laughing. The whole time they did this, they tore themselves apart limb by limb, gear by gear. Pretty soon there was a pile of metal pieces everywhere. Max was confused at first, then horrified when the pieces started reassembling themselves into one tall figure. It was a mutant clown creature, and it stared at Max before turning into William Afton. "You don't know what we've been through," it mimicked, or at least tried to mimic human speech, as it grabbed Max. Max woke up hyperventilating and looking around. Then he froze upon seeing a golden bear sitting next to him. It looked a bit like Freddy, only its head was crooked, and its eyes were empty hollows. The bear giggled at him in a little girl's tone. Max clenched his eyes shut, shaking his head. "You aren't real. You're not real." He slowly opened his eyes again. The bear was gone. "It was just in my head," Max sighed. He jumped when he heard Vicky crawling through the vents above him. He thought about hiding at first, but honestly he didn't see her as a natural threat. If she wanted Max dead, why didn't she do it all the different times she had a chance? "I thought you changed," Max whispered. "Please, Vicky, tell me there's still something good in you." Then Max heard another sound, one coming from around the corner. He hoped to God these things couldn't smell blood, or fear for that matter. He quickly scanned for a place to hide and saw a small closet nearby. It had a peephole in it. As soon as Max darted in, he caught a glimpse of Chica, peering around the corner he just ran from. Bonnie ran up looking around too, but seemed confused after a few moments. Freddy stormed up from behind them, pushing the two apart, and coming closer to Max's hiding spot. "Oh no," Max hissed, closing his eyes. Instead of opening the door, Freddy leaned against it as though tired, and started warbling to the other animatronics. Max wished he understood what they were saying to each other, and whether or not the subject was about finding and killing him. Foxy trotted up and joined in on the strange conversation. Freddy was quiet for a while. Then all of a sudden he started sniffling. Max frowned. What was wrong? The animatronics continued talking to Freddy as they all walked down the hall. The bear, in Max's opinion, seemed quite manic. Max waited until they were gone before bolting out of the closet. He ran into something, or rather someone. Jeremy looked ready to beat his head into the flashlight before he caught himself. "Max!" he cried. "Jeremy, what are you doing here?" Max asked, overjoyed his friend was there. Jeremy said, "Well, actually, I saw Clay outside. He said you never returned, so I came in after you. Oh, and, did you happen to see any kids in here?" Max shook his head. "No, but I thought I heard them. Listen, Jeremy, William Afton's in here, too. Ever heard of him?" Jeremy nodded and replied, "Sure, he was my employer." Max sighed. "He's not normal, Jeremy. Like psycho kind of not normal." The ex-security guard snorted. "That figures. So instead of being a sitting duck, got any plans on what to do?" Max knew this would be a shot in the dark, but they were running out of both time and options. "I might know where he's keeping those children," he whispered, gesturing up towards the vents. "An old friend of mine could lead us to him." Jeremy stared at him like he had spiders seeping out of his mouth. "Follow Vicky?" he asked. Max smiled. "So you've met her?" The former guard crossed his arms. Yeah, she tried to hump and kill me." Max rolled his eyes. "Pfft, okay, so she's absolutely crazy, but I've got a gut feeling about this, and if I'm wrong, you may punch me in the face free of charge. Deal?" Jeremy sighed, taking Max's extended hand and shaking it. "Deal. I'd much rather punch Will right now, though," he muttered. The two of them followed both Vicky's vent sounds and the echoes of crying children. "Please, if you just let us go, we won't tell anyone about you," Tommy pleaded. Will responded with an open-handed slap across the face. "Little rats like you always go home to their mommies and daddies to tell on old Will," he sarcastically quipped. "No amount of bribes, threats, or anything in between could keep your pathetic mouth shut. You're all gonna die tonight, and that's final." The little boy whimpered, biting his lip. He didn't want to cry in front of the others, but a few stray tears found themselves rolling down his face anyway. When Afton glared at them, it was like there was nothing there behind his eyes. He looked right through those kids, cold and soulless. "What happens here, stays here," William sneered. Loud banging noises were heard from above. The purple man smiled. "You hear that? Here she comes," he laughed. Will whistled, and the vent lid popped off, hitting the ground with a clang. Nathan and the others were wailing and struggling now. The hybrid jumped down, landing next to Will. Her eyes focused on the two boys as she towered over them, tail swaying from one side to the next. Afton spoke up. "Vicky, these are my victims. Victims, this is Vicky." A thin sliver of drool dripped from the corner of her lower jaw as she started stalking towards the children, like a cat about to spring. Will stepped in front of her. "Hey, hey, hey! Not yet, Vicky," he told her, wagging a finger as though she were being lectured. "First we must wait for our friend to show up." Vicky growled before saying, "You mean friends. Our little hero is a sidekick with him." William wasn't expecting to hear this,